Okay, wanted to go over some stuff with you today on different developments that you can buy in St. Kitts. There's right now there's just under 100 developments that are citizenship developments that if you buy there you can qualify for citizenship. Now you got to be really careful though when you're buying for citizenship on properties that were developed before January the 1st, 2012. The reason I say this is a lot of those properties were sold for citizenship many years ago, and there are some properties in these old developments, believe it or not, that are 20 years old. Some go back around almost like 30 years, and they were never used for citizenship, but those are real rare that you see that. I mean, most of these were bought over the years, sometime during that period if they're 30 years old, for citizenship. But there are, some that were never used, and you can get some really good deals on those, but you got to be really careful because they don't have a real good tracking method here on properties that were bought that many years ago. Believe it or not, it's just that they don't keep those kind of records. So it's the records are somewhat, but you can go in and buy a property that's that old and there's no track record, and if it's no real pure track record of that, my advice is to stay away from it and don't buy the property. Otherwise you could run into a real problem if they find out that was used for citizenship. Now, if it was bought after January 1st, 2012 for citizenship, you can resell that one for citizenship, okay, in the citizenship zones, as long as it's at least, with $400,000 today. Now, people get confused on the 200,000. That's on a fractional unit. It's not where you own the whole unit, and that is the minimum, is 200,000 to get citizenship in St. Kitts if you get a fractional unit. Otherwise, it's 400,000 on a standalone unit. Also, folks, if you want to legally get your income taxes to zero, or how to get a second passport as quick as 45 days, do three things. Hit the subscribe button at the right of your screen. You get new videos automatically as they come out. And don't forget to go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help if you need it. One thing I want to bring out to you too, I talked to the developer. I've mentioned this several times, but some people have not picked up on this. We've got a developer who's picking up your government fees, background check fee, legal fees that amount to anywhere from 50 to 150,000 US dollars, depending on the size of your family and what you're actually getting. That's a lot. I mean, that's a bunch, but they're discontinuing that at the end of October because it's picked up so much down here. They were paying out a lot for that, so that's going to be discontinued. So if you're thinking about, you're looking at the real estate option in St. Kitts and you want to get a second passport using the real estate option, I think you're going to look back and really regret not having an opportunity where you can get all these fees picked up, because, in fact, I know you will if you know about it, because you're looking at your legal fees. Some places charge, you're looking anywhere from 10 to 20,000 US dollars, depending on how many family members there are and so forth. You might be able to do it for less than that, depending on what you're negotiating. But then you got your background check fees, which is $7,500 for the primary, and then you're looking at around 4,000 US for each other person in the family, unless you're 16. Or if you're under 16 years old, there's no background check requirement for someone under 16 in St. Kitts. But when you add up all those figures, and then not including the government fees, that's the biggest fee. And depending on how many different people you got in your family, what that fee is going to be. But you can get somebody to pick those fees up. Man, that's a huge savings right off the bat. And I'll tell you something else too. The real estate here does not run in tandem with the U.S. I've noticed that across the U.S. there's places now that's dropping quite a bit in property. We're not having that here. This runs different because it's an emerging market country. In fact, we had our big run up here up until about 2010 or 2011, whereas most of the places in the US got hit really bad in 2006, 2007, right in there. But we didn't have any sort of effect on that until around 2000, I'd say sometime in 2011, but it never dropped as much as a lot of the areas in the US did. But we had a straight up market until then. It was just totally different. But this is the key right here, is if you're buying property, you know, and you're wanting to try to get in before the end of October deadline to get those fees paid, you really need to get started, you know, right now if you're thinking about doing that. So if you're interested, just get with us and we can talk to you on that. All right, now, one of the things that you really need to think about is that date, because there are some really good deals out there on older properties, but like I said, you've got to be, you need to make sure that you can use that property for sure, because if you buy a property that was used before that date, and it's in a citizenship zone, and it's not a single family home, it doesn't come under the home program, because most of those are condos, remember, it's going to screw up your citizenship. Now, there is an exception to that. If it was bought before January 1st, 2012, and it is a standalone villa or a house, it will qualify under the home program now up until November, okay, of this year. Now, whether the government chooses to renew that or not, I don't know, because we just got new elections and new prime ministers come in, so, you know, we'll just have to see what they do on that. But otherwise, it expires unless something is done in November on that. But those homes can be, and I didn't say condo, it's got to be a villa, it has to be a standalone dwelling, and it has to approve for it. It has to have title, not deed of conveyance, and the actual structure itself has to be appraised for at least 400,000 US dollars. And whatever the lot price is totally outside. And you also have to get, if you're in question on it, the person selling it has to get an appraisal on it, or either have a tax statement that's at least no older than 6 months old that can show as proof of what the house is valued at. Anyway, this is you know, what you need to be looking for if you're looking for a house. And again, if you want some real good freebies, this is probably the best I've ever seen, because this is the only developer I've seen that's offered it. We've got another developer, they're picking up some of it, but not everything, not the government fees. So, you know, if you want everything picked up. And also, one of the questions people have is, well, what other fees have you got outside of that? Well, the property is actually, depending on which property you got, they got them as low as 400,000, depending on the property you want. In essence, there's almost nothing outside of that. There's just a few small fees outside of that you have to pay for. But your big fees are your government fees, background check fees, and your legal fees. And they're picking that up. So if you want to save anywhere from 50 to 150,000 US dollars, this is the way to go. But it will end at the end of this October. Okay, so this is, you got roughly a little over 4 more weeks to do this if you're interested in doing it. Now, again, I've told people before, the areas that are the best, if you buy, are in Frigate Bay, okay? This is where most people move to because it's close to the beaches. It's close to the grocery stores. There are areas outside, but like I said, it's when people rent, like we've got a vet school here and 2 medical schools, and they typically, those students like to be close to the beaches. That's why they like Frigate Bay. and the rent, you can rent it out pretty easy in this area here. Now, if you're looking for a place, I always tell people, if you're looking between the different citizenship options between Dominica, St. Lucia, Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, the things that I always tell people to look for when you're trying to make a selection is, number one, is look at visa-free travel. That's not everything, but that's one thing you should be looking at. St. Kitts and Nevis have 162 visa-free and visa-free arrival countries and territories that you can travel to. That's higher than any of the other fast-track programs, okay? The second thing you want to look for is what sort of tax advantages have you got? Well, there are only 2 countries in the fast-track program in the Caribbean, and that's, of course, the St. Kitts and Nevis and Antigua and Barbuda that don't have an income tax. But St. Kitts doesn't require you to have set up Social Security if you have a local business. Antigua does. So if you're looking to get around everything, St. Kitts has got a lot better option for that. I've been to both places too, and St. Kitts is a cheaper place to live as far as things that you're buying. And I never have figured out why there is a difference, but there is a difference. I mean, I've been to Antigua many times, and it is a more expensive place to live. So that's another thing you have to look at. Now, when you compare it with the other places, like Grenada, Dominica, St. Lucia, especially Dominica and St. Lucia, your visa-free travel drops a lot. But this is the thing I always tell people. Why don't you pick a country that doesn't have an income? Even if you don't live here, it gives you the option, if you want to move here, you can go to a place that has no income tax, no capital gains tax, no estate tax, no inheritance tax, and a property tax that almost doesn't exist. It's only 0.20% of whatever you're purchasing, with a $29,600 US dollar exclusion before that 0.20% kicks in. You're virtually paying almost no property tax for what you're getting. So you've got to decide, is that what you're looking for? You're looking to get your tax base down to 0. If you're doing it, this is an excellent opportunity to do that. And so, these are the things I would be looking for. Now, another thing too is they've got, some people have asked me questions about the Southeast Peninsula. All right, that's where these mountains are right here. That's Timothy Beach Mountain. And there's a road that runs all the way down the Southeast Peninsula. And that's the Southeast Peninsula Road. Now, the properties down there are higher. It is pretty down there, but I'm going to tell you some problems that you're going to run into down there. And that is that it's extremely dry. It's the driest place in any part of St. Kitts and Nevis. And let me tell you why. It's the furthest point from Mount Nevis and Mount Lyamiga. Mount Lyamiga is in St. Kitts. Mount Nevis is in Nevis. The further you get from the mountains, the drier it gets. And the Southeast Peninsula is way away from both of those peaks. So it's like bone dry. I mean, it gets dry in St. Kitts, but down there it is like a desert, man. It's probably one of the driest places I've ever been, other than Dubai. And it's amazing the difference if you just go 10 miles away in coming to Frigate Bay from the Southeast Peninsula, how much the rainfall differs per year. It blows your mind. But that's the fact. And, so you're gonna, if you want grass and stuff like that, water, man, you have to just water all the time down there, okay? But your biggest disadvantages getting down the Southeast Peninsula is you're way away from any grocery stores. You're gonna have to go about 7-8 miles just for a loaf of bread. And there's no street lights. So it's just like pitch black when you're driving back towards Frigate Bay from the Southeast Peninsula. And people are going to look at that when you resell, because most people that have money are older people. And most people that get older, they start thinking, you know, what happens if my car, you know, gives out and I got to get out. And remember, things they don't have 24/7 here. And a lot of things. So in the middle of the night, if you're driving and your car goes out, unless you've got a friend or relative, you might not be able to get somebody unless you've got the personal guy's cell number and he's willing to get up in the middle of the night. Remember, this is the Caribbean. It's just different. And most of the stores here close at 4 or 5 o'clock unless it's a grocery store. It's just on a different time clock. And so if you end up having a car problem, it can be a pretty bad situation. You know, getting back. Now you can walk back, but you might have to walk, you know, miles and miles. And I'll tell you, it can be a real dark place. You don't have your cell phone with you, you're in a real bad situation because you won't be able to see much at all. I mean, it's just, unless the moon's out, it's just pitch black. Now, it is nice down there though, but you're going to pay a lot more per square foot. And to be honest with you, I never have figured out why people move down there versus Frigate Bay, because you get a lot more for your money in Frigate Bay and you're closer to those amenities. And to me, it's just it's a no-brainer to me to begin with. And most people that come to St. Kitts that are expats that have money that they buy in Frigate Bay or they get in Half Moon Bay. And if they get citizenship, usually they're going to get in Frigate Bay because it's very little in Half Moon Bay. And also you're going to have to remember, in Half Moon Bay, you don't have accessibility to beaches that are close by. Now, Koi Resort, they do have a beach in that resort. It's very expensive. They have fractional units. And to buy a full unit, you're going to have to pay a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money. And that's not Frigate Bay. It is in the New Haven, Half Moon Bay area. Okay, so these are some things that if you're looking at buying, that you want to try to pay attention to. Folks, if you want to learn more on this, again, go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. And folks, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We got almost 800 videos. This is where you pick up a lot of good tips before you make a major move and make a decision. It can really save you a lot of money. And I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, just put it below, and I look forward to talking to you in the next video. Take care.